Characterized by their genuine portrayals of the trials faced by the everyman, class struggle films offer rich social commentary. Ken Loach's I, Daniel Blake, a UK production, and Satyajit Ray's classic Bengali film Pather Panchali, Song of the Little Road, are striking depictions of the obstacles imposed on members of the lower class. I, Daniel Blake depicts the often unseen flaws in the British system, which disproportionately affect the lower class. Pather Panchali highlights a more common perception of poverty in early 20th century Bengal, emphasizing the need for compassion and unity within the class system to improve one's situation. Both films are prime examples of how the genre can promote change. I will be using structuralist film theory to analyze how both films emphasize the cyclical nature of poverty through densely composed images, measured camera movement, and the intensification of the narrative through editing techniques. Through the creative use of these film elements, the directors of these genre-defining works emphasize how society prevents the lower class from improving their status, how their desire to break free from the endless cycle and seek a different path in life is met with fierce resistance.
What interests me is density. How much can you tell? How telling can you make your images?
In both Pather Panchali and I, Daniel Blake, members of the lower class seek the assistance of others in similar situations to multilaterally climb the social ladder. Both films employ compact and concentrated images to convey simple emotional themes that have a significant impact. The impact of the striking images of Pather Panchali lies in their simplicity, their minimalism, paired with the director's eye for intention. The camera doesn't cast judgments on characters for stealing. Ray brings us into the Royce family dynamic, their interpersonal relationships, and their enjoyment of the simple things in life. Apu's childlike innocence is our viewfinder and our way into the community. In the climax scene of Pather Panchali, we see Apu's sense of innocence stripped from him, and a new social order is established. Durga's death during the monsoon season sends the family into a state of emotional complexity, and Apu, despite his seemingly stoic reaction, is in a state of shock. Ray and cinematographer Mitra employ close-ups and long shots sequentially to indicate the passage of time. As the camera tilts down to the symbolic pond, it settles into a high-angle shot, an impactful image of Apu as a minute figure facing the concentrated environmental surroundings. With Apu at the lower left of the frame, the body of water seems endless and alluring. In this way, the camera angle is used to expand on the motif and symbols of the rain and water that serve the theme of the commonality of the lower class experience, with the poor represented by the endless drops of water consumed by the vicious body of society. The camera right close-up consists of a shallow depth of field with the backdrop symbolic of how Apu has been drawn into this cycle. When Apu throws the necklace Durga had been accused of stealing into the pond consumes it, and the necklace, just like the Roy family who now leave their ancestral home and passed behind, is now a distant memory. In I, Daniel Blake, Daniel has and continues to face the trials and tribulations imposed by the British bureaucracy. Because of this, his compassion for others in vulnerable situations, like Katie, is remarkable.
These people are here to help you, man. You know, you've done nothing to be ashamed of.
I'm sorry.
We relate to his humanity in a system that has tried to pit the poor against each other. In this sense, similar to Apu's innocence, Daniel's compassion is a lens through which we open our minds to often overlooked perspectives and place ourselves in modern-day British society. In the devastating food bank scene, Katie breaks down, overwhelmed by hunger. The audience assumes the perspective of Daniel. Though the situation may not be relatable for all, Daniel's humanity has grounded us, and the scene hence evokes a genuine emotional reaction. The scene opens with an establishing medium-long shot of Daniel and Katie entering the food bank. The arrangement of the tables and chairs as leading lines towards the doorway, along with the long lineup of people seeking the food bank's assistance, reminds us of the commonality of the situation. As the worker guides Katie, Loach cuts to a shot of Daniel with selective focus on him away from the doorway. As Katie breaks down in tears, the selective focus on her and the worker, and the medium close-up with the blurred background causes us to, like Daniel, feel disoriented, wanting to help, but unable. In India, the power structure of the caste system has caused the poor to internalize their differences, setting upper caste or Brahmin versus lower caste or non-Brahmin. In Pather Panchali, the camera is also governed by non-judgmental point of view shots. Harihar's absence leads to greater pressures falling on Sarabajaya to care for Apu and Durga with such limited resources. The neighbors accuse her of badly parenting Durga and encouraging her tendency to steal when she takes some fruit from the orchard. In actuality, Inder, Harihar's old relative, is responsible for this. This results in Sarabajaya viewing Inder as a burden and treating her in a cruel manner. This trope of negative treatment of the elderly is one that goes against human instincts, but we understand how Sarbajaya's mental state drives her to this. As she scolds Inder, the camera pushes in and we get the sense that Inder feels guilty about imposing on the children's lifestyle. The following shot is stable as Sarbajaya continues to tell Inder off with a rapid whip pan employed from across the yard to a symmetrical long shot of Inder, isolated and disconnected. Even in this fragmented community, some are outcast, others entirely ignored, and there is a culture of competition for survival that has evaporated any sense of compassion. Ken Loach said, "The most vulnerable and the poorest are treated by this government with a callous brutality that is disgraceful." In I, Daniel Blake, Daniel experiences firsthand the predicament faced by members of the lower class in the UK. As he attempts to attain his job seeker allowance, the flawed nature of the process comes to the forefront. As he is placed on hold, this is indicative of the lack of care and attention devoted to these vulnerable individuals. Loach and cinematographer Robbie Ryan intentionally implement minimal camera movement to convey a raw experience of hardship and the tedious process. As he speaks with a support worker, the camera is mostly stable, handheld, with slight organic movement to make us conscious of the genuine struggle and moral gravity of the moment. Similar to parts of Pather Panchali, here the goal is to minimize our awareness of the camera. However, by contrast, it is intended to ensure we cast judgments on the antagonist of the film, the establishment, and governmental systems that refuse to adapt and progress to the changing needs of the people. Throughout Pather Panchali, the camera angles are very intentionally employed to serve a distinctive purpose. No frame goes wasted. Ray said, "There's hardly anything left on the cutting room floor after the cutting. It's all cut in the camera." This approach is effective in depicting the passage of time. Crossfades are effectively coupled with the leitmotif tune to transition. When Inder steals from the kitchen, the camera is stable, no cuts to a close-up, no moving forward. The camera knows its place to observe and not cast judgment. This non-judgmental POV is made impactful by the lack of cuts to additional angles because it drops the viewer into the situation. This approach continues when Harihar returns and learns of Durga's death. His joyful expression fades as Ray cuts from a close-up of Sarabajaya to Harihar consoling her. As he rises, no words are spoken. Rather than similarly cut to a close-up of his reaction, Ray remains on the shot of Sarabajaya falling, moving into his expression, tracking up and pulling out of the situation. It then cuts to a mirroring shot of Apu, still in shock at the situation, before cross-fading to the following scene. In I, Daniel Blake, Katie is driven to shoplifting and theft to get basic living necessities. The scene opens with an establishing shot of Katie entering the store. A man is clearly watching her as she enters. Loach and editor Jonathan Morris cut to a perspective shot tracking Katie as she moves in the store. The following shot of the security camera allows us to understand that she is being watched closely. Rather than linger on this shot, Morris cuts to Katie checking out. The unknown between these two shots is what makes us concerned, unsure if she stole, unsure if she will be caught. As the security guard takes her to the manager's office, the medium shot lingers as they walk away, and a sense of discomfort overcomes us. In both I, Daniel Blake and Pather Panchali, these film elements are creatively employed to demonstrate how tragedy brings the community together, only for the cycle of internal conflict to continue, while demanding empathy and inspiring action.